Sometimes your models may become twisted and have all kind of turns and woven together. And here's an example right here. This is all one seamless object, and it's twisting and turning and curling and all sorts of things. And then you decide, I want to UV map this. Well, what axis do you choose? Is it a cylindrical, spherical, XYZ, planar? I don't think it's any of those. It's kind of all of those. And so you could kind of get stuck and have to figure out how to UV map it. But fortunately, we have a tool called UV Spider. And UV Spider is kind of like bandsaw, where it'll find the loops for you and it can map it for you, and it'll be a nice clean map. So what I thought we could do is take a look at UV mapping this seamless mesh, which is one of the most extreme that I could come up with for the twists and turns and curves and things like that. So why don't we go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to go ahead and switch to 4 windows. Let's open up the UV texture window, and I'm going to start with this area right here. And my goal is I'm going to select these two and select loop, so you can see it goes all the way around and then connects back up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this area right here, this polygon right here, come over to the Map tab, and under Texture, More, UV Spider, I'm going to call this Braid Ring. And we need to just kind of like Bandsaw Pro, we need to decide whether it's odd or even. And what I've done in the past for something like this is just choose between odd or even. Auto, haven't had much luck really determining which way it's going to go per loop. So I'm just going to try odd for starters. And then instead of filling up the entire map, I'm going to say I want to go from 0. There's 4 loops around. So I'm going to go and break this up to 0 to 0.25, which would fill up a quarter of our map, and click OK. And what it did was it just took the entire loop around and added it. Let's deselect. It added it to the UV map. Okay, I'm going to take the next one right here and do the same thing. So I'm going to add it to the same map. So Texture, More, UV Spider. And this time I'm going to start it on 0.25 and then go to 0.5 so that we put it right next to what we already have, and click OK. So there we go. I used odd again, but it only looped around the 4 polygons. So I'm going to undo, come over to UV Spider, and I'm going to click even. I'm going to select even for the select edge, use the same settings, okay, and we're good to go there. So I'll grab this next one in the row, go to UV Spider. We'll stick with the settings, except we're going to go from 0.5 to 0.75. And it looks like it's trying to connect. I'm just going to undo once, and that'll fix that so that they're not connected over here. Be much cleaner. Okay. And then the last one is this guy right here. And we'll go to UV Spider, and we'll go from 0.75 to 1 to finish off our UV map. And it did the same thing. I'm going to undo UV Spider and choose odd. Okay, and there we go. So what could have taken my entire day if I had to manually do it, we made light work of using UV Spider. So what it does is it's got to be a quad mesh, and it goes and does the equivalent of select loop, or when you're working with Bandsaw or Bandsaw Pro, and it goes and finds the loop for you. So now I can select these just to give you an idea. I'm kind of randomly selecting, but we've got it laid out nice on a UV map that we can go in and paint the texture. Everything is going to UV nicely. You got one map for the entire thing, and I didn't have to jump through any hoops. UV Spider crawls along the geometry and lays it out nice and clean. The trick is to, when you're working with UV Spider, is to not take up the entire map, so then you don't have to move the geometry around. You could always move the geometry around once you have it on there, but for me, this is the easier route, is to kind of plan out how much of the map you want to take up with the geometry, and then that way you can have it right up against each other and laid out nice and clean.